Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Dana Haggard, Professor of Management and curator of this video on empowerment. Let's get started. Empowerment is a word that gets thrown around a lot, so defining it is particularly useful to make sure we are all working from the same page and understanding of the word. According to Wetton and Cameron, empowerment is the use of acquired power to give others power in order to accomplish objectives. This is a very general definition, while it still gets at the heart of the concept. Someone who obtained power is giving power to someone else so that someone else can accomplish a goal. The American Psychological Association definition includes the statement that empowerment is the promotion of the skills, knowledge, and confidence necessary to take greater control over one's life. Here the definition incorporates the idea that empowerment involves more than just raw power. It requires helping someone to develop the ability to take greater control of one's life. One's life is a very broad thing to control, but work is definitely an aspect of one's life that we are particularly interested in. The last definition takes empowerment to the specific work context we will be focusing on. BusinessDictionary.com labels empowerment as a management practice of sharing information, rewards, and power with employees so that they can take initiative and make decisions to solve problems and improve service and performance. This definition shows how the promotion of ability mentioned in the previous definition can be accomplished through the actions of information, rewards, and power sharing. And this is done so that employees can act with minimal management interference to solve their own problems and improve their performance. In their textbook, Developing Management Skills, Wetton and Cameron emphasize that empowerment means providing freedom for people to successfully do what they want to do, rather than getting them to do what you want them to do. The purpose is to enable, to energize, to help develop self-confidence, overcome feelings of helplessness or powerlessness, and to mobilize intrinsic motivation. You can give a person power, but it is up to them to accept empowerment. Why is empowerment important? Research has shown that empowering employees leads to increased trust in managers, increased employee satisfaction, creativity, innovation, higher quality products and services, and increased organizational commitment and employee citizenship behaviors. Employee organizational citizenship behaviors are the discretionary behaviors outside a person's job description that employees engage in to help coworkers or the organization. However, these positive outcomes can be dependent on how the empowerment attempts by the leader are perceived. If an employee sees the empowerment attempts as a sign of leader trust in them, they are much more likely to respond to empowerment actions than if the employee sees the attempt as a way for the leader to avoid their own responsibilities in some way. We will talk more about this when we cover delegation, which is an action managers often use to try to empower their employees, and which can lead to problems if not done correctly. Also, it is important to remember that not everyone will respond to empowerment in the same way, due to individual differences in personality, culture, and skills. Empowerment can be measured in general or within a specific context. Here are a few scales you can check out to see how empowered you currently feel in the particular contexts represented in these scales. Wetton and Cameron lay out a framework for empowerment that contains 5 dimensions, and they believe that all 5 must be present in order for a person to feel empowered. The first is self-efficacy, which we have discussed before. As a reminder, self-efficacy is the feeling that one is capable of performing a task successfully. It is related to a sense of competence and confidence. Beyond believing one has the necessary skills to perform the task, the person must also believe that they can put forth the effort necessary as well. I realize that might sound a little bit odd, so here are a couple of examples. I know I have the necessary skills to teach all-day workshops. However, teaching for 8 hours straight is a very physically as well as mentally draining activity for me. Therefore, my self-efficacy for teaching all-day workshops is lower than my self-efficacy for teaching a regular or online class. Here's another example. I have recently discovered gardening and successfully grew squash and some other plants this summer. While I have the necessary skill to create a garden this spring, my self-efficacy is low because I am not sure that I am capable of putting forth the effort necessary to grow more than a few plants, so my gardening self-efficacy is not very high. The next required dimension is self-determination, which is a feeling that one has a choice to voluntarily and intentionally pursue a task rather than being forced to do so. Furthermore, this choice should extend as much as possible to things such as what methods should be used to complete the task, the amount of effort to be expended, the pace of work, and the time frame in which it can be completed. Absolute choice about these things might not be possible, but to the extent that choice is possible, people should be allowed to make them for themselves. Personal consequence is the belief that one can have a meaningful impact on an outcome. This is related to locus of control, but remember, locus of control is a general approach to life. The idea with personal consequences is to help others develop a sense that they can produce a result, regardless of their personality dimension. It is helping a person to see that they can influence what happens in a particular situation. Meaning is a perception of intrinsic value in the activity. In other words, the activity is worth doing simply by virtue of doing it. The person cares about what they are doing and sees it as important. Meaning is related to a feeling that the activity matters, maybe not to everyone, but to someone, and that makes it worth doing. The last dimension is trust. Trust within this context is the confidence that one will be treated fairly and equitably, and that those holding authority or power positions will not harm or injure them. Trust is feeling secure in your relationship with your manager and knowing that they want you to be successful. Again, according to Wett and Cameron, all 5 of these must be present in order for a person to feel truly empowered. Here are some actions you can take to improve your empowerment skills and to encourage empowerment in your employees. Several of these items should seem familiar, and that's because there are so many ways the concepts we have covered can be applied in the workplace. Start by articulating a clear goal for the employee. Do not simply tell the employee you are going to empower them. Tell them what you mean by empower so that you are both working from the same understanding of the word. Then, provide personal mastery experiences where the employee learns and improves their skills. It is also important to act as a role model when you can, and if you can't, to point out someone else who can model the behavior for them. This helps them to see that the action is possible and gives them a sample to work by. Next, think about how you can trigger positive emotions in your employees regarding their work. For some people, adding game-like characteristics can improve their sense of empowerment. When they know the goal is objective, in other words, it's not subjective, that there are rules on how to behave, and that the score will be kept, and feedback received, and winners rewarded, this can improve their enthusiasm for their work. Again, this is going to be dependent on the individual's personality, values, and culture. Task identity is a concept from Hackman and Oldman's job characteristics model. In their model, jobs are more intrinsically motivating when they are high on task identity. Task identity is the degree to which a job allows employees to perform a whole piece of work and to clearly identify the outcome of their effort. For example, a tailor who designs and actually sews a suit has a much higher task identity than a person who simply cuts out the same pants patterns every day but never designs or assembles the pieces. Task identity is the ability to point to something and say, "I did that." For more on the other dimensions of the job characteristics model, see the link in the additional resources at the end of this video. Empowerment also requires that the employee have confidence in their managers as a leader. We will revisit this later in a video on leadership, but for now, the things to remember is that creating confidence in you as a leader will require you to be reliable, fair, caring, open, and competent. And of course, empowerment will not be successful if employees are not provided with necessary resources. These resources range from social and emotional support to more tangible resources such as equipment and space. While empowerment can be very effective, it is not universally so, and as with any change in the workplace, managers should carefully consider the actions and reactions of their employees and how to best present the change, and how to demonstrate how the new way will be better than the old way. It is also important to note that managers who have a high need for control or desire to be in charge will have difficulty handing over power. The same can be said for managers who doubt the capabilities of employees or who fear a loss of status or rewards if they empower others. If a manager like this works for you, you may have to do some counseling as well as coaching for them so that they understand that empowerment is necessary in the workplace. And now, some questions for self-reflection. Has anyone ever tried to empower you? Were they successful? Why or why not? Have you ever tried to empower someone either a coworker, friend, or family member? How did you approach them and how did they react? Have you ever worked for an organization that applied gamification to tasks? Did everyone react the same way? What could you do if someone refused to accept empowerment? How could you go about diagnosing the issue and addressing it? And perhaps one of my favorite questions to ask, which of the 5 dimensions of empowerment are present or lacking in this course? I really would like to know because I try to make this class as empowering as possible. That concludes this video on empowerment. I hope you found the information helpful and interesting. If you have any questions, please post them to the Student Questions Discussion Forum in Blackboard. Chances are, if you have a question, someone else has that question too. If you are intellectually curious and would like to learn more, please stay tuned for the sources and additional resources linked for this video. Thanks for watching.